Or this time of the Quick Speed Shop, we got kind of like a podcast. I'm going to sit in here and ramble in a chair for, I don't know for how long it's going to be, about the 2025 Hershey experience. And I want to preface this talk, my thoughts, is just my hot take, day back from Hershey, what I thought about the 2025 Hershey. It's a show I look forward to all year, every year. And if you've gone to Hershey for many years, I've been going for 15 years, so I'm like a newbie, but 15 years is a little bit of time. I know a lot of people, this is the 70th year, 7-0. So it started in 1965. 70th year for Hershey. And there's some guys that have gone for all 70 years. Not a lot left, but there's some that have gone for all 70 years. That's crazy. So let's get into talking about this. It's not all sunshine and roses. And if you were at Hershey, you got eyeballs. It's not all sunshines and roses. The spots are waning, the people are dwindling, and the prices are through the roof, which is probably contributing to spots dwindling and people dwindling. That being said, I went down a little bit of money. I came back with the same money. I sold. I didn't buy a lot because I couldn't afford to buy a lot. I sold at very, very, very reasonable prices things I took to sell, and I sold them. But you've got to buy and sell, have an eye, and be reasonable with things. And a little bit of this is going to be what I think is turned into be a problem at Hershey is things are getting priced outpacing inflation or whatever. And I don't know what's driving it, but I think things are ended up to be like 2, 3, 4 times retail for things when they shouldn't be, especially when there's a lot of it there. And I'll pick out an example. The signs and the gas and oil stuff is through the roof. And I'm not sure why, but I'm a gas and oil collector, not a rich guy gas and oil collector, but probably your average gas and oil collector that has a normal job. I literally have a gas station that I'm trying to fill with oil cans and stuff and a couple of pumps and things like that. Like I said, I'm not a rich person by any stretch of imagination. Right now I'm broke, but I scraped together enough money to go to Hershey, and I'm always looking for gas and oil things for my gas station. And I can't buy them at Hershey. They are, even somebody that is selling 74 Vega parts and has one oil can that they randomly came across, they have 3 times what it's worth. And I can't buy it. It's cool to see this stuff in these huge displays that I think are mostly sign and oil vendors bringing stuff, because if that's all they have, they probably are. But I don't know who they're selling to. It's not me, and it's not the average person walking around Hershey. It might be selling it to other vendors, but when you got like 3 or 4 times retail on all your gas and oil and sign stuff, I don't know who you're selling it to. It's not me. And, I'm not paying $300 or $400 for a rusty, banged up oil can. I'm just not. I don't have the money to do that. I have, I don't know, probably 40 oil cans here. I haven't paid more than $75 for the nice ones I got. I paid $75 to $100 for. I'm not paying $400 for an oil can. I don't care if I won the lottery tomorrow. That's crazy. I'm not paying $10,000 for a sign. I'm not paying $4,000 for a sign, especially when that guy has the sign, and that guy's got a sign, and that guy's got the same sign, that guy's got the sign. How are they all $4,000? If that guy didn't sell his for 4, and that guy didn't sell his for 4, and that guy didn't sell his for 4, and that guy didn't sell it for 4, how are you going to sell yours for 4? That's my first question. Are they selling for 2? What, would you take 2? Oh, no, I got to have 4. Oh, okay. Okay. Echo air towers. Why are they all $2,500? Is anybody using them for compressed air? Nope. It's not like there's one of them. Every spot, echo air tower, echo air tower, echo air tower, echo air tower. Why are they all $2,500? I don't know. I know in 2010, my dad asked me to find one at Hershey, and I said, Dad, they're $800. He didn't want to pay $800. I wouldn't pay $800 for one today. they're $2,500. The parts ones are $1,200. I'm not going to buy a bucket of bolts and parts and banged up tin and rust for $1,200 to make an air tower. I'm just not. And I think a lot of people that come to Hershey just aren't. I didn't see the normal person on a scooter or a normal middle-aged person or younger person carrying a $6,000 sign down the row out to their car at Hershey. I saw sign dealers with golf carts hauling signs from one sign space to another sign space with a golf cart. So, in my mind, the gas and oil and sign people are just using Hershey as a way to pass signs between dealers, and I guess they sell them on the internet. I don't see them changing hands at Hershey. I can't afford to buy them. Nobody I know can afford to buy them at Hershey. I don't see people walking with them buying them at Hershey. I don't know. So that's my first takeaway was the gas and oil signs and the air tower. That stuff is completely overpriced and completely ridiculous, like by a factor of 4. That's my first takeaway. Second takeaway is, I don't know, I buy stuff that I can afford with the money that I bring, and I sell stuff at a fair rate. I'll price my stuff going by internet prices, and I'll price it at half the internet prices, because internet, you got to pay shipping, taxes, stuff like that. Like eBay, say eBay's $200 for an item. I'll have it on my table for $75. I'll sell it for $60. You know, do I want to be in the... Could I sell it on eBay and like make $120 after maybe $100 after dealing all the nonsense, and then have somebody leave a bad review or return it on eBay? Absolutely. Is it worth it for an extra $20? Nope. I'd rather sell it in person to somebody at Hershey, make them feel like they got a deal. I get money in my pocket. Everybody's happy. It's in person. You're looking at it. There it is. Do you want to buy it? Yep. Okay. How much? Thank you. Have a nice day. That's how I like to sell stuff. I want to sell stuff in person at swap meets to people for cash. I don't want to deal with the internet. I don't want to deal with Facebook Marketplace, even though I've bought stuff recently off Marketplace, including at Hershey. I bought a bunch of Charger stuff. If you watch my Hershey video, I bought some 69 Charger stuff off Facebook Marketplace just because I was in town. But I don't sell stuff on Marketplace. The very few times I've tried to, it's a fiasco. You know, everybody blows you off, blah, blah. I want to sell stuff in person for cash to people who are touching it right there. So that is the reason I take stuff and price it reasonably at Hershey to be able to sell it in person to people for cash. And that's what I did. I sold most of my stuff. I went down with a certain amount of money to Hershey, and I sold enough that I came back with the same amount of money I went down to Hershey with. I didn't bankrupt myself. I would have spent probably all the money I took to buy a few things I was looking to buy and wanted to buy. I just couldn't. The people wanted outrageous prices on them. And I wasn't prepared to pay 2x retail for stuff that I really didn't need. I couldn't afford to do it, and I don't want to do it. I'm not going to, just because I'm there, I'm not going to do that. So, my main gripe is, I guess, that there's always the Hershey price. People have put the Hershey price so far up now. I think it's discouraging people from coming to Hershey, dealing at Hershey. And that's not a way to have Hershey continue forever. Is you turn all the buyers off, and especially me, like somebody who comes there and spends a whole week there and spends a lot of money and time, takes time off from work to go to Hershey to participate in the Hershey experience. And I'm the only one that seems like they want to be in the Hershey experience reasonably, not, shooting for the moon and hoping for the stars. I'm real stubborn. I don't get turned off real easy, and I'll continue to go and experience the things. But there's a lot of people that did everything they could to get there, or put everything all their eggs in one basket to get to Hershey. I spent a lot of money and spent a lot of time breaking down to get to Hershey to break even and not make hardly any money. Well, actually came back the same amount of money, but not talking the gas and the time and stuff. It cost me money to go there, but also, I'm not running the business. I get people that are running a retail business that need to make money, so they've got to charge, probably close to retail. I get that. but don't charge 4 times retail just because you're at Hershey. You're going to ruin it, because the average person that is going to go there isn't going to pay 4 times retail. And like I said, I don't know. I don't want to discourage anybody from not going to Hershey. It's still the biggest, probably biggest swap meet of early stuff. I would say, I don't know, 1960 and earlier parts that you're going to find. Now, like I said, you have people that are asking outrageous prices for everything, but you can still find things, especially things that people deem as no value, like the orphan cars or other things. You still can find things that are reasonable, like the flashy stuff, like the signs and all that stuff, and gas pumps and things that, all the car collectors have their cars. Now they're going to look at the stuff to fill up the garage. That stuff, like I said, is completely outrageous. But I think the people that identify all that stuff are also aging out. So you might be at the top of you got to be at the top of the market for the signs and the gas pumps, I would imagine, because like I said 3 times already, that stuff is completely outrageous, completely outrageous. But if you're doing your first, say you're 40 years old and you got a 34 Ford 4-door sedan that you bought off Facebook Marketplace from an estate for $6,000 like I did, or he's not dead yet, but I bought my 34 Ford Deluxe sedan off Facebook Marketplace for $6,000. So you could clearly do that nowadays. I bought it 2 years ago, but you could still do that now. I happened upon it, was advertised on Marketplace and out on the street. Now, if they took that car to Hershey, would they put 10 on it? Absolutely. Would it sold for 10? I don't know, but I paid 6 for it. Now, me, I could, if I wanted to restore it, say I'm an average guy who wants to get it, say I'm just retired, I'm 60 years old and I want to restore that car. I could have bought that car. I could have gone to Hershey for the first time, joined the AACA, even bought and sold parts, stayed right on the field, which I encourage people to join the AACA and get a spot and take parts and sell them there. Like, go for the experience. Go stay on the grounds and see what it's like. But you could, like, I bought those 34 Ford wheels. I bought 6 wheels for $60. If I was doing getting in the hobby and I wanted to restore that 34 Ford and I didn't have the original wheels on it, I just bought 6 wheels for $60. I could take those wheels, get them sandblasted, painted for not a lot of money, and there we go. I've got wheels for my car. That was a good deal. If you're doing a Model A, there was a lot of cheap Model A stuff there. There was some older restorations. I saw a couple of coupes for under 10 grand, almost complete cars. The paint wasn't the best and stuff like that, but Model A's are very affordable to get into now as a starter project. Model T's are very, very, very affordable to get into as starter projects. There was a, 25, 26 4-door sedan in primer that sold. It was $1,000, and or $1,500 or whatever. And I don't know what it sold for. It could have sold for $600 for all I know, but it was sold and it was sitting there. It needed to be completely restored, but it was mostly there and it looked solid. That's affordable to get into if you want to do an early car. The big, Cords and Duesenbergs and stuff like that, those are always been money. Those will always be money, just like 32 Fords have always been money and will always be money. But the amount of normal parts that filters through that place is a lot. There are deals to be had if you're looking at things that are falling out of favor because people are aging out. Now, obviously that's true in everything in the world, but I saw Model A Fords, very affordable. I saw multiple coupes for sale under $10,000. Older restorations that were complete cars that under $10,000 that you could get in, fix them up a little bit, say you have $15,000 into a car and have a nice Model A if you wanted a restored Model A. Or you could take it apart and build a hot rod for not a lot of money. Rare parts are always going to be at Hershey because that's where people bring rare parts for early cars. If you can buy them or not, that's another thing. Like I said, that's rare. Just because it's rare doesn't mean it's worth a fortune. But at Hershey, everything looks like it's worth a fortune. I don't want to discourage anybody from going to Hershey because it's the largest swap meet in the world, like I said, that's still for stuff. And it's changing, like everything is changing. Just like, with drag racing, drag strips going away, encroachment stuff, it's changing. The AACA has pressure from Hershey Park they moved the show last year a day ahead because they want to run roller coasters there. Milton Hershey guaranteed that show will always be at Hershey Park in his will, which hopefully it will always be at Hershey Park. But I think you will definitely see it be condensed. It doesn't need to be spread out as far as it is now. They could probably eliminate almost the entire red field and push it into chocolate, orange, and green, and have it around the Giant Center. You're going to see them. That's what they're definitely going to do, is they're going to shrink it up. And there was a ton of spaces that weren't marked that, a few years ago were full of cars and parts that were not even sold. Like I said, this year you could have showed up at the gate and rented a space, got right on the grounds. That's unheard of. If you join the AACA now, I think they're letting you buy up to 6 spaces, which used to be 3. When I joined, it was 3. And the only reason I have 4 is I had 3 for all those years. And then last year they said if you need additional spaces, and I knew a space next to me was unsold, a lady and her son came and had the single space for 1 year, then it was unsold last year. So I wrote it down, and I wrote to Hershey when they said, anybody wants more spaces. I said, I want this space. So now I've got 4 in a row. But I will say, my friend Gary that comes sets up with me, he drives all the way from Cincinnati, almost 9 hours, and he didn't sell a lot. And I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know if it's worth it to him to come all the way from Cincinnati, drive almost 9 hours with his truck and trailer and stuff like that. He said he might not come back, and now I've got 4 spaces that's going to be me set up on them. So, I got 4 spaces so we could have room to share, and I don't know if he's coming back or not. We'll see next year, but I know he was disappointed. He went to Carlisle a couple days before that, and he sold some stuff at Carlisle and did well at Carlisle. I think he sold like $200 at Hershey, and he brought a lot of stuff. And I know he was disappointed, and he traveled with some other people, and he would have left early if he wasn't traveling with those other people. So he was disappointed with it. I know that for sure. So will he be back? I don't know. And it looks, I'm not going to say bad. It discourages people that aren't ingrained in the Hershey culture of we got to come here every year. If they show up and see empty spaces and see people not buying stuff, and then see out of touch prices for the average user or average buyer or average people that come there to buy, the general public who doesn't set up there, it probably discourages a lot of them, and that's not a good thing. Like, you want Hershey to continue, you got to go there and set up and sell and buy, but you also need to, I don't know how to say it, not be so greedy as to make a mockery of what Hershey is. Like, Hershey's always been expensive, but it can't be 4 times reality. That's just ridiculous. Now, on the positive note, there is people like myself and guys like Iron Trap Garage who are trying to get younger people in the hobby, get things going. Like Matt and Mike and those guys bring a lot of good things to Hershey, and talk about it and set up and do a lot to bring these parts. A lot of they're buying estates and they're bringing stuff to market that hasn't been in the market in a long time, and setting things up and trying to move things along. So they're doing a good thing. There's a lot of other guys like the Race of Gentlemen guys that are into the early Ford hot rods. I took a Model C motor, 4-cylinder Model C 34, 35 or 33, 34 engine. That was out of one of my Worthington tractors. It was a part, but it's complete: block, crank, pistons, head, water pump. I took that there and I sold it to Andy Kohler's buddy, who, those guys are building traditional overhead 4-banger cars. They're doing the Race of Gentlemen stuff. I know that a C block motor is worth something to those guys. I sold it to them for $100. It came with stuff that I got nothing into. I would rather pass that engine along for $100 to those guys, because they've got to completely rebuild it and stuff, put money into it, and to have fun with the Race of Gentlemen. Is it worth more than that? Probably. almost positively it's worth more than that. I know C blocks are hard to find and that was complete, but it's worth nothing to me sitting here in the back. Like, I'm not going to sell to a marketplace. For one thing, I don't want people coming to my house. Marketplaces, I don't want to deal with random idiots out in the world. I would rather all day long sell stuff to you in person at a swap meet than do it over the internet. I don't want to deal with the internet. I don't want to deal with people flaking out on me. I want to sell in person for cash at a swap meet. I'm old school that way. I want you to dicker with you in person, yes or no, and take it or leave it. That's what I want. I don't want to deal with the internet. Marketplace sucks. I've found a couple things, but like trying to deal with people sucks. So I took that C motor there with $100 on it to sell it to somebody that is looking for it and can use it and wants to buy it reasonably. And that's what I did. And that's what I think people need to do to keep Hershey alive is, now you should always make, I guess people are going to say like, well, I got to get the maximum dollar. You should always make as much as you can. I agree. But to me, the $100 for that engine was better than that engine sitting out back for the next 25 years, making me $0. I took that $100 and I bought a gas pump globe with it, or I bought dinner with it, or I bought gas to get home with it. Driving an engine there and then taking it back home doesn't do me any good. All it does is cost money and waste my time. I sold it, and now if somebody else can take it and use it, and I sold it for a very fair price to people that are looking for that stuff, and that's what Hershey should be about. Selling stuff reasonably to people who are going to use it. Everybody wants to get a deal. I want to go buy a stuff. Everybody wants to ring a bell, be like, oh, I found this screw. It's worth $78,000. I paid 50 cents for it. Yeah, great. You made money. Sell it to the guy who needs it for $50,000. You pocketed $50,000. That guy got a deal. And, whatever. I'm kind of rambling on here, but I go to Hershey to buy and sell. I go to buy and sell reasonably. I want to buy and I want to sell. I don't go there to display. A lot of people go there to display. And nowadays, if you go to display, you're turning off potential customers who would like to participate who can't because you're just going to display. I'll say it that way. And I'm not trying to insult anybody or, get a bunch of hate on the internet or whatever. It's just, like I said, with the gas and oil and sign guys, I'm your customer. I literally have a backyard gas station that I want to fill with gas and oil cans and jars and build an active display. I'm one person with a blue collar job. I'm not a millionaire. I can't afford to buy your stuff at millionaire prices to line my Walmart Supercenter that I've got my $8 million car collection in. Like, there's only so many of those people that are still coming to Hershey, and you see a lot of those collections are being broken up and sold right now because those guys are dead or dying or 95 years old. I'm your future customer that's going to be going, if you want to continue to go to Hershey to sell that stuff, I'm your customer. And people that are 10 years younger than me and 10 years older than me are your customers. The people that were buying that stuff to fill their Walmart Supercenter car display are not your customers anymore. Those guys are dead or dying. I'm your customer. I'm trying to build my collection out of stuff, and when the prices are 4 times realistic retail for the stuff, I'm not going to be your customer. And all the people that are like me, the normal people that come to Hershey, are not going to be your customer. And you might ring the bell on one sale for the whole week, and I guess if you made a couple $1,000s, you made your sale, but I don't know. I don't want this video to be like, I hate gas and oil guys, because that's not what it is. I'm just trying to think of a way to say this, I don't know, that people can understand. People like me, who's almost 50 years old, that are still making their collections, are the customer of people who are selling stuff at Hershey. Now, granted, there's always going to be rich people that go to Hershey that can afford to pay rich people prices. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there's not 8,000 spots there of rich people, or whatever, how many spaces there is now, probably 6,000 spots. There's not 6,000 millionaires sitting there buying from other millionaires. There's probably 400 millionaires there buying from 5,600 normal people, right? So if everybody prices their stuff to the 400 millionaires, the other 5,600 people that are set up there buying and selling are going to be left out. And all the people coming in off the street that are also probably 99% not millionaires are going to be left out. So the entire place is trying to sell to a very small group of people at the very extremely high prices they're setting their stuff at. And if you want to continue the entire operation, you can't dictate all your stuff to, it'd be like Walmart pricing everything they have at $8,000. Now, would Elon Musk run in there and say, I need a shirt, it's $8,000, I don't care because I got $15 billion, or however many billions of dollars he has? Sure. How many shirts are you going to sell for $8,000? One to the one guy. Everybody else that goes to Walmart ain't going to buy your shirts at $8,000, and guess what? Walmart's going to go out of business. The same thing's going to happen to Hershey. If everything is priced 4 times X retail, and the only people that come in there are people that can afford to buy retail, Hershey ain't going to be around forever if that's going to be the model that people are going to think is what you need to do to be at Hershey. I don't do that. I go there to buy and sell stuff. Like I said, I'll put reasonable prices, giveaway prices. I'm not saying that everybody has to give away their stuff. Put reasonable prices on it. I even told guys that tried to, talk me down, because I already had bottom line give it away prices on stuff. I had a couple of Mopar A-body and B-body radios, thumbnail 6869 radios. Look out on eBay. I'm not an eBay guy. Look out on eBay because I buy off eBay. I don't sell on eBay. I bought a couple of radios not knowing exactly what I was buying to fit things. So anyways, a decent A-body or B-body 6869 Mopar radio on eBay average is $200. I bought a couple of radios locally at swap meets for, I don't know, $50 to $100. I thought it would work, and turns out I didn't do all the research and they weren't the correct radios. So I took them to Hershey and I put $50 to $75 on them. Less than half of what eBay is, and I had guys pick it up and be like, "Oh, would you do half of that?" I said this 3 times to people. I said, "Hey, not to be that guy, but this radio easily fits in a box and goes on eBay. On eBay, these radios start at $200, unless they're junk. But like the ones I had start at $200. I said, this is $75. It's less than half of what it is if you wanted to go on eBay and buy it. I'm like, I'm here. I'll do $60. I'm not going to sell it for $20. You know what you're looking for? I'm not going to sell. I sold the extra dash. I had them on in my spare parts truck for the C10 dash. Just the radio hole is what everybody wants on eBay for a C10 dash, because everybody hacked the radios out of them back in the day. Just the radio blank holes, out of just the center of a dash, they sell for like $75 on eBay all day long. I had the entire dash, which was mint, except where it attaches to the windshield, but you can splice them under the dash pad and nobody knows the difference. The rest of the dashboard was perfect, and I had $50 on it, and a guy wanted to get it for like $25. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell it for, retail for that dash. On average, like I said, just for the center is $75, and the whole complete dash is $200 or $300 on eBay. So, the internet drives sales for most things. So I'll price it in person half what the internet is, and I expect that to be a fair price at a swap meet, because I'm not on the internet. I'm not paying tax. I'm not paying shipping. I'm not paying all that stuff. So guess what? If it's $200 on eBay, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask $50 for it in person. But don't think you're going to get it for $10. Come on. And I'm sure those people know what it is. Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody's got a computer. Even older people that don't know how to use a computer have an idea of what things go for. I'm sure they can figure it out, or have their grandson look it up, or granddaughter look it up on the computer. You have an idea what people are asking for in the real world now. When you already see that I have it for half or more, or less than half, I think that's pretty fair. I think I sell stuff pretty fair. Am I going to be rich by selling my stuff? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, I sold my stuff. That's really how it is. Now, I'm not running a business of overhead, so the guys that have a business of overhead need to make more money. Is their overhead 4 times retail? I don't think so. But like I said, if everything at Hershey is 4 times retail, you're going to run out of buyers, and then you're going to run out of customers, and you're going to run out of Hershey, period. That's my take on it. What do you guys think? This has gone on long enough. This is just a hot take right after Hershey. And that's all it is. It's still the biggest, best swap meet in the world. I still encourage everybody to come to it. We need new blood to come to it. And maybe people will come around and see eventually, and it'll morph into... It's going to morph, but hopefully it stays around because, like I said, you can't find the early stuff. You'll see stuff you never see any there before. You'll have people bring things that you can't find anywhere else. It's an experience to stay on the grounds. It's $45 a year to join the AACA. You get a magazine. You get to get into Hershey. It's $100 a spot. That's comparable to any other swap meet. You get to be there and in person and do the thing, see the stuff. You got the car corral. You got all kinds of things. You got Southern Pennsylvania in the fall. It's gorgeous. The weather's usually decent. It's a great experience to go to the AACA show at Hershey. I hope it's around for another 70 years. This is the 70th year, the 70th year. I hope it's around for another 70 years. I think people need to be realistic to make it be around for another 70 years, but I hope I have another 15 or 30 years of going to Hershey, buying and selling and seeing things. I hope I have that. Just like all these guys that went for 50 years, 70 years. Some guys went to every single Hershey. They went there at 18 years old and they're still going there at 88 years old. I hope I get to experience something like that but there has to be engagement. People have to be reasonable, and that's all I can say about it. If you're still watching at this point, I guess I beat it to death. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next year. Come to Hershey. Bring some stuff. Price are reasonable. I'll buy it. I'm looking for stuff for all kinds of things. I have a little bit of money, and I'll pay reasonable prices for reasonable stuff. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Here, hoping Hershey lasts forever at the Quick Speed Shop.